the radio. What does it look like out there?
Christy, I'll let you start here.
Well, when you're driving on Summerlin Road, you are driving in what almost looks like a river on parts of the road. I mean, both sides of Summerlin Road are flooded. The median is the only part that is not flooded. And to give you a perspective as to how deep these floodwaters are, we're going to have our photographer zoom on in and take a look at this minivan. It is submerged in water. It is stuck here. It looks like someone may have been driving in these floodwaters.
Christy, I don't want to interrupt, but can we turn around? We actually have a convoy of rescue vehicles going in. I'm sorry, Christy, I apologize,
no, totally
but they have boats. We're seeing search and rescue, and this is heading towards Fort Myers Beach right now. I believe there's one more that's going to be heading this way. They're obviously very interested in what we're doing, and jet skis, all labeled with search and rescue. I mean, there was 3 or 4 vehicles that passed while Christy was talking. All of these headed towards Fort Myers Beach, and these are just some of the ones that we've seen. And this is the reason why. Christy, I'll give it back to you. This is the reason why, these floodwaters.
These floodwaters are the reason why these search and rescue teams are out here. We've seen images of the parking lot at Health Park Hospital where cars were submerged in water. You know, we spoke to people that live in this area who evacuated and went to a shelter, but unfortunately his son stayed at home, and he is just walking up and down this street praying for this water to recede to make it home to his son. He told me, you know, Christy, they lost power. I can't get a hold of my son, so he can only imagine maybe his phone died. I mean, we're all dealing with some terrible cell service. So many people in our community are on edge with this situation. Lisa?
Christy and Gage, Rob Duns is joining us right now, and he actually had a question for you both. So, Rob, what were you going to ask?
Could you repeat again, Christy or Gage? Where are you at again?
So we're on Summerlin. We are right. This is north of Bass Road?
East of Bass Road. And Golisano's actually, the lights behind us is Golisano's Children's Hospital. So to give you a perspective, right by Lexington Middle in the Waxahachie Dog Park.
Okay.
Kind of pinpoint you there.
For the control room, just for some perspective for the people who are watching on the live stream, if you could take the Doppler 1 graphics, I have the map aimed at where Gage and Christy are reporting live from. So Doppler 1 would be the source for this. Again, from where they're located, that would be close to the Doppler 1 graphics. We'll show you the map. Where you see the Health Park sign there is where the Gage and Christy are reporting live from. What I'm curious, and how long have you been there?
Probably about 45 minutes to an hour at this specific location, Rob.
Do the water levels look any different now as compared to when you arrived?
That's a great question, because I was looking at this minivan and I'm looking at the back tire. And I believe, I mean, Paul, can you zoom in really good for me here? I'm thinking,
Gage, watch out.
Yeah, there's actually more emergency vehicles coming in. I think it may have gone down, Rob, maybe an inch or 2, but it has not receded significantly to the point where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like the water's going down. We have not seen that yet. We have not seen the waters go down at all. And you can see security. Look, they got water in the back. They got gas in the back. And they're on the license plates are from out of town. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of people, assumedly search and rescue, headed there. But to Rob, answer your question, not necessarily. No, unfortunately, no.
However, I do want to say, from the time that we've been here, 45 minutes, hasn't receded much from what the man that I spoke with, that has been out here for a couple hours, he did say that the water is receding. He said before he got here around 8 o'clock, he said our live trucks, no way we could make it this far. So it does give us hope that it is receding, but it is taking a significant amount of time to lower these water levels, Rob.
Tell me about what the water is doing. Is it moving water yet, or is it somewhat still, as one would associate with just regular rain flooding, or what is the water doing right now?
It looks like the wind is kind of pushing it, right, Gage? How would you describe this?
Yeah, the wind's moving it, and obviously we don't want to go too far into the water. We're only going to go where we can see because you never know what's in the water. The wind is kind of rippling it and moving it a little bit, but we're not seeing necessarily a current towards a drain. We're not seeing water coming up or receding back. It's more just, this is probably the worst thing that people want to hear right now. It's more just stagnant and sitting here, which is bad news. We've seen a couple storm drains farther up Summerlin Road towards proper Fort Myers. Those were just backed up. And what have we been saying, Rob? I know you've been preaching it this whole time, the whole team of meteorologists. This water has nowhere to go, and it's because it's been so saturated here in Southwest Florida because of our summer rains.
It's rainy season.
I'm familiar with where Health Park is as I picture driving along Summerlin, but to the left or to the right of you, are there retention ponds nearby? Or is there a lake nearby? Is this overflowing from something, or is it just the road itself is just inundated from what would be either storm surge, leftover salt water, or freshwater rain?
Well, I know there's some retention ponds within the health park facility, kind of in that campus there. There are swales. Believe it or not, you can't really tell because it just looks like one giant kind of canal over here at this point. We won't even call it a swale, but there are swales alongside the road, and you can kind of see, we can see, I know that's kind of hard for the cameras to see, but we can kind of see where they are and where the dip in the earth is, per se. But, Rob, those are overfilled. Those are completely overfilled.
It's difficult, of course, for us to see, but with you being there on the ground, tell me about other damage. Are you seeing trees down, branches down? We can see the water, but what else do you see around you? Do you notice structural damage of any buildings or houses? Tell me about trees. What are you seeing besides the flooded road?
Christy?
Oh boy, Rob, when we talk about debris on the road, I mean, the drive over here was just very telling as to how strong Hurricane Ian was and is. You know, when we were driving on US 41, I mean, I saw what looks like those concrete apartment, signs crushed. I mean, on the road, those KFC signs that are in the, mounted to the building, broken on the road. The McDonald's signs just bent. I mean, that's just a glimpse of what this hurricane did in these more inland areas. When I was driving on US 41 close to Gladiolus Drive, there was a massive tree on the ground, uprooted. And when I say massive, picture the height 3 times Gage. Gage is 6 foot tall, right? Imagine putting someone 6 foot tall on top of each other. That's how tall this tree was in the middle of US 41. It was huge. So we've been seeing a lot of downed trees, broken branches, palm fronds. I even saw one palm tree completely uprooted. So as far as debris goes, there is a lot of debris. We're passing by Lowe's. You know how Lowe's has those sheds that they always keep outside? Mm-hmm. Well, those were flipped up on its side. I mean, it's a mess out here, to be honest. I mean, and this is what we're seeing in the dark. We're using our flashlights, right? Because there's no traffic lights up. There's no power, right? So we're using flashlights to assess the damage out here. And without the lights that our crews have on our cameras and on our live trucks, I mean, it would probably be hard for me to see and recognize, what is maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of me. I mean, that's how dark it is out here. So I just can't even imagine, Rob and Lisa, what we're going to see when that sun comes up. I don't even want to begin to think about that, really.
And one thing I want to point out, and this was impressive to me, I know someone wants to ask a question, but Paul, can you show this right here? These metal kind of pylons, this is from a road sign, right? The road sign was here, and then look, the road sign's laying here, and you're probably like, huh. That's not too impressive, right? The road sign didn't go too far. But, Paul, come here. Look at this. This is what I noticed over here. Paul, don't trip. I don't want you to fall. It sheared the metal right off the road sign, and assumedly that's how this road sign fell. Just kind of sheared, broke off, and just ended up laying here, I'm assuming at that point, in the floodwater, so probably didn't get to go very far with the wind.
Yeah, if you point over there, you can see those bent signs.
Yeah.
Our photographer, Paul, zooms in. even one sign, you see the hospital sign clearly is lopsided, but farther in front, farther behind, it's almost like bent, Gage, that sign over there.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, and like I said, this doesn't even compare to what the Naples area and what Fort Myers Beach and Captiva and Sanibel have seen, but this is just a precursor, if you will, seeing how just easily Hurricane Ian twisted these metal signs, twisted these structures, twisted trees like they were turnips. It's just a precursor to just what daylight is going to show, and that's a heavy thought.
It's gut-wrenching to think about it, quite honestly.
Absolutely. So, Christy and Gage, I know that the assignment was for you to head out towards Health Park. Is this as far as you could get, or are you set up here because it was the safest area where you guys could be set up?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Both.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. You know, the Lee County Sheriff's Office was actually doing a high water rescue. And I want to be very, very, very clear. Our team and our managers, we do not put ourselves or our crews in jeopardy. That is paramount. I don't want to be put in jeopardy. So we're doing things safely, but we stopped and talked to the LCSO team that was doing their rescues, and we said, can we proceed towards Fort Myers Beach? They looked Christy and I dead in the eyes and said, it's at your own risk. So to answer your question, we're doing it and stopping here safely because we want to show different things along our journey throughout the night. We do plan on going further down the road. How much further? We don't know, because unfortunately the only vehicles that have been going down that way are the ones that are search and rescue, and by the looks of the videos that we're seeing in the images coming off Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Captiva, I don't think they're going to be coming out of there anytime soon.
Gage, when the storm surge event was highest in this part of Health Park, I got some video from a friend of mine who has a house there, and the waters were quite literally up and above the first floor of their home, and they were concerned about having to swim across the way and go to a second floor. That house is fairly close to the Health Park area. In driving down there or getting to where you are right now, have you seen anything indicating water levels that would still be that high in anything that you've seen in the Health Park area?
That family, that man I just talked to, I mean, he was just a couple feet away from us from the hospital, and he was trying to take his pickup truck down the road, and I don't know which road it is, to be quite honest, but he was trying to take his pickup truck down the road to reach his son, because his son was inside the home. He knew his son's home was flooded, but he hasn't gotten a hold of his son since, you know, his power went out, since probably his phone died. He doesn't have cell service. So I do know, based on what this one man told me, this father who just wants to get to his son couldn't take his pickup truck down the road to get to their home. This is the same spot where we saw those LCSO rescue crews that were responding to a family in distress in that neighborhood. And the equipment that they had those big doom buggies.
The swamp buggies.
The swamp buggies.
Yeah.
So, you know, those big monster tires. I mean, that's the kind of equipment these first responders are using to get to these homes. So the answer to your question is yes, I believe it. I mean, it is dark. Have I seen homes underwater? Have not seen that yet because we haven't turned down those roads for our safety, but I believe it. I mean, we've spoken to our people here in Southwest Florida, our community, who's, you know, living it.
And Rob, I want to give you a visualization. I know we don't have the Hercules monitor with us, but I want to give you a quick visualization. I'm 6'3". This van here is about 10 foot. The top of our dish usually sits around 13 feet. The average first floor of a building sits between somewhere in 10 to usually around 10 feet, right? That would be higher than this up here. Zoom out for me, Paul, if you don't mind. We're just on Summerlin Road here. That's how high, assumedly, in the area, in the vicinity, giving you just a kind of a short visualization about up here where these lights are would be if they were flooding out like that video depicted, Rob. And you see some of that rain is coming down now.
I was gonna say, Rob,
so
I've
that would have
seen
been very serious. It's tough to try to consume that, if you will, try to put that knowledge and just try to understand, because you drive down here to the beach, but you never realize how tall and how high that water must have really been at one point.
I mean, I keep thinking of that FaceTime interview Kelly Burns had with the couple out in Fort Myers Beach. They're on the second story of their home when those waters, that storm surge was on the second floor, and they were, you know, we can only pray that, you know, they're okay. And it's heartbreaking to just really picture what so many families are going through in our community.
And one more thing while we're out here right now, and this is something that we all noticed ourselves and our photographers. We hear all these car alarms going off. Rob, you're talking about that flooding and that high water. That's the cars at Health Park. The alarms are going off likely because the batteries are shorting out or there's damage to the vehicles. We're hearing these alarms constantly, constantly. Like the one where you lose your car in the mall, the panic button. That's what we're hearing out there. Just to hopefully that can maybe put a better picture, especially for the people that are listening on the radio. That's how high these waters were out here, and you know we haven't gone off the beaten path per se. That's how high they still could be. Rob,
question for you. I'm seeing the rain come down. I'm seeing the wind kind of whip their jacket. How much more is this community going to be dealing with?
Well, the rain is, if I could ask one more question, do we have to go along to something else?
No.
I do need to ask one more question, though. In the people that you've spoken with...
Christy and Gage, hold on. Don't go anywhere yet.
The only first-hand account I've gotten from Fort Myers Beach is what happened with that live Zoom call where we're speaking with the family that had evacuated to the second floor.
Unfortunately, I think they can't hear us anymore.
Well, if we're able to get back into communication with them, the only first-hand accounts that I've heard from anyone on Fort Myers Beach is that family we were speaking to that had evacuated to the second floor, and I believe they had guessed that the storm surge level had